Good evening. My name is Gabriel Leiva from Bove, and I'm the president of Hispanotech. I'm very pleased because of the response that we had for this event. We expected about 80 people, but we were sold out and we will have approximately 95 people this evening. The topic is very interesting, and that's the reason we have such a good response. It is about the Internet of Things. With about 10 billion devices already interconnected and expecting it to grow to about 25 million by 2020, the Internet of Things offers the possibility of a safer, smarter, and more efficient planet. But at the same time, it creates concerns regarding intrusion, unexpected advertisement, and hidden fees. And therefore, it creates a lot of questions, and hopefully some of them will be answered this evening. Enjoy the evening. Thank you.
This is going to be a little bit awkward. IBM is one of our largest partners in the world, so frankly all my slides are exactly the same. The only difference maybe is we use different agencies. I think our slides are prettier. And second is we probably use different sources for facts and figures. So you may see some numbers that are slightly different, but we're talking about billions of connected things. It doesn't matter really if it's 30, 50, or 100 billion. So I'm going to probably change it up a little bit because frankly, and that's maybe a good thing, although now I know why you invited us both, MIT, Harvard. You were hoping for some fight here, but it's not going to happen. I'm going to flip through some of the visuals I have, but I may skip through a few because frankly we clearly also have actually the same examples. We probably should have rehearsed, but that's okay. I think I'm going to have to, in order to do this, I work for Cisco, but I'm not very technical. I'm going to have to say that up front. So don't also ask me any technical questions. And clearly this Microsoft thing I don't know how to do. What is it going on? Oh. There you go. You see, that's much prettier, right? No, so before we go, and I know I don't have a lot of time, I wanted to take a selfie with you behind me. I'm going to do that anyways. Although we were talking earlier, I told my kid, who is 15, that I do this usually when I speak somewhere publicly, and he says that he told me that Twitter is for old people. So it's hard, and you think you're going to hear about later how fast social is going and how it's even for us probably hard to keep up really about what's going on. So I do this, I'm going to post it on Twitter, so everybody smile. There you go. So at least I got that done.
So now I'll have to follow you?
You have to follow you, yeah, so there you go. I don't have business cards anymore because our job titles change about every month. So just go online and that's how we connect. Now, is anybody not convinced after what you heard from Luis? Anybody questioning, still like, yeah, whatever? Because that makes my presentation even shorter, probably. Because in reality, and you heard it over and over, IoT, IoE, connected things, the digital age, it's real, it's here, and it's happening to us if we don't otherwise take advantage of all the opportunities and make it happen for us. And I'll talk to you about a second that if we don't do this, frankly, we're going to all be in what we call sometimes the Kodak moment. Does anybody remember Kodak, the company? Yeah. They missed the transition big time, and they're not really there anymore. And there's lots of names and brands you can think of that missed the transition of the digital age, taking advantage of all the things you heard Luis talk about, and either don't exist anymore, or are frankly struggling for their existence. So this is not only like it's happening, this is if you're not looking at this, then we can have a problem, no matter if you're a government, a business, or an industry, or any kind of stakeholder. Now for those that are not convinced, I'm going to show this picture. 1780, does anybody remember 1780? The beginning of the Industrial Revolution. Steam engine came and some of the important technologies came, and then suddenly we had a train. Think about this train that went from cross country in Canada and started to create little communities, and then there was a trading post, and then there was a hotel, and then there was people moving, and suddenly we realized that this infrastructure was the lifeline or the bloodline for communities to flourish and to create economic opportunity and jobs and development. Now, and luckily, things have changed. Does anybody know what this person did, 1780? Does anyone know what this job is? No? She wakes people up. She spit little pebbles to the window and wake it up. We do that today all with our smartphone, right? How about this job? Turning on the street lights. Now, frankly, actually, we can, if we wanted to, turn on and off street lights, or certainly in your home, turn on and off the lights or the garage doors with your smartphone. Does anybody know what that guy's doing? It's the first radar. Oh, wow, look at you. First radar. I never had anybody guess that, ever. First radar system. Obviously now, with the apps that you download from IBM, IoT.ca, CA? No, .com. We can get radar on our smartphones. So luckily things have changed, and if we don't kind of try to do things differently and we try to keep doing the same thing over and over again, we don't really take advantage of the opportunities, and we all will end up in the Kodak moment. And more than ever before, we have all these pressures come our way that drive us to think differently, think outside of the box, to maybe cannibalize our own business models because of social and demographic changes, because of economic change, environmental, and last, certainly and not least, the technology changes that have dramatically changed kind of the world in the last 30 years. And I say 30 years because it's not even 30 years ago that the internet became kind of a public good. 1994 was the first kind of year where we had public websites, about 1,000 of them, and billions of them now. And that we call kind of the maturity, I guess, of the information age. We've seen PCs come out and computers, and we started to translate processes and bits and bytes and ones and zeros and start to automate things. The internet kind of started to accelerate that. We saw e-commerce, first communication and e-commerce, and then completely dominated by social, and it's changing everything, and we kind of refer to this as the digital age that we now live in, that is giving us a whole set of tools and capabilities to change our business models to avoid the Kodak moment. And this is now the world we live in. Does anybody know what's happening here?
3D printing.
Gosh, you guys are so smart. That's right, 3D printing a bridge. So now think about manufacturing. Do we really need to build something in China and ship it here, or do I just download a file and print it in my garage? How is this going to impact the construction industry or any other industry, frankly, that we have that we're dealing with? Now, and here's just some brands or company names that you all have seen, probably all used one way or another, and completely transforming the industries as we have been accustomed to. So for anybody else out there still thinking like, no, I've been doing this for 30 years, it just works, I make good money, here's all of them, amazing examples of that. If we don't get ahead, if we don't start to digitize our business and take advantage of this kind of connected world and things like Internet of Things, that we are going to be left behind, because our business models will be reinvented by some teenager that probably sits in a kitchen table today and is building the next amazing business model that's going to be worth $19 billion. And I have not as many examples. I have a few, but we have lots of them together, and there's, Luis talked about ecosystems, and talk about it later. This is not about IBM or Cisco, one or the other. This is about new relationships and new partnerships to truly take advantage of this, because it's also too big probably for one company to do it all. There's a lot of pieces that are coming together. Some of the examples, and I'll do this real quick. George Brown College kind of referenced it. Waterfront Toronto campus, one of the most connected buildings for heating, cooling, lighting systems, all kind of converge onto one digital infrastructure. The same digital infrastructure that is giving George Brown the tools to rethink how it shares curriculum, how it teaches its students, and how it has its students interact with this space. So the plumbing is in place, digital infrastructure is in place, the Internet of Things is in place, and now it's the applications and services and experiences that are going to be delivered and developed on top of it almost in perpetuity, to create new experiences, to save a lot of money, to make a lot of money, to improve performance, profits, and productivity. Goldcorp, and then when we refer to IoT, that's the other difference other than slides and facts. We probably use words and terms a little bit different, but that's marketing's fault, right? We the hard time keeping up with marketing. We refer to IoT more in the industrial space when we think about the evolution of machine to machine, connecting things that haven't been connected, and it's automotive, mining, energy, oil and gas. Those are the industries that have a lot of catching up to do to truly take advantage of this data and knowledge that sits locked up in unconnected systems. Mining is one of those great examples where we go thousands of feet underground, and then we have no ability to track our workforce, to track our assets, to manage security, to do safety, to improve processes. And we're seeing the Canadian mining industry rapidly embracing this IoT, connecting everything that was previously unconnected, basically moving the internet to 2,000 feet under the ground to now completely digitize and optimize all its processes. But as a result, to improve performance, reduce significant costs, and actually add safety and security. Metrolinx, any Metrolinx users? Up Express users? It's too expensive. They're looking at the rail as kind of an infrastructure, but now adding a digital layer to it. So digital infrastructure is being laid next to the rail to optimize how trains use its infrastructure, to actually, through analytics and process, be able to put more trains onto the system to deal with increased demand. But at the same time now use this digital infrastructure to not only start to provide Wi-Fi, but direct or personal information and customized interaction with its customers, and start to rethink how to use the digital world to create a new experience for its travelers. Now you may say, who cares, because it's one of those monopolies. Again, does Kodak moment ever apply here? But when we start to think about different ways of working, different business models. Think about Uber. They too need to keep innovating to be productive and to be profitable. Starbucks is the only non-Canadian example. One of their biggest problems that, what was his name, Schultz, said is people ordering all these fancy drinks and then we all stand in line and it takes too long for the drink to come. Now in the US, they have the ability that through the Wi-Fi they come in, they know it's my phone, they know that I come and what my preferential drink is. It comes automatically on my phone, obviously says yes, accept, and it gets ordered without me even having to stand in line and ordering it. So completely rethinking the supply chain of interaction and how to deliver a much faster and a much better services experience. And the last, which I'm very proud of, which is Oxford Properties. They are the landlord of our office here downtown, and we gave them an IoT challenge. And so we said we want every light fixture to be on an IP network and powered over Ethernet. So no electrical wiring. We want the power to come through the cable that feeds data to your computer effectively. We want the same for every air conditioning controller, every door lock, every security device. So everything that goes into our building has to be a connected device. And so they did. So we partnered there with Philips Lighting, and actually the first building, commercial deployment of a building where every light fixture is now an IP PoE address. Now we layer on some of IBM's solutions, like Maximo and energy management, and we can now start to create applications that go on the phones of our workforce that they can now customize their own work environment. And we believe we have to do this because the way we work is changing. Therefore, the space in which we work needs to start to change and accommodate it. And the buildings that we work in need to take advantage as much as other industry we talked about. Now, and obviously we believe that technology is the underlying kind of enabler for all this. And we actually believe that every company is going to be a technology company. And it was Dwight Schultz, is it Dwight Schultz from Starbucks, who said maybe 2 months ago that he believes he's more of a software company than a coffee company. And look at what Uber did to the taxi industry. This is not a transportation company. This is a software company. And any business, and I don't know who you represent and what you're in, what business you're in, but all your businesses are increasingly dependent on technology. Think about a day where you don't have access to technology, and this only goes faster, and this only gets worse or better. I'd like to argue the latter, of course. But, and here we have some different numbers, but the same message than Luis, and it's hard to read. 88% of the executives know that the digital age is here, and they have to start to think and do something about it. They know it's here, and then 35%, they will actually go and do something about it, but only 7% knows what to do about it. Because this is brand new, this comes at us at a speed of light, and we don't know how to take advantage of this. Hence the need for new partnerships, new relationships, new conversations, doing the art of the possible, a lot of drinking. But really starting to rethink what business outcomes need to be, and then the technology will follow itself. Tools are all there. We need to now deploy them in a way that delivers true business outcomes and true business value. And we say there's kind of 5 key levers. There's a lot more of them, but 5 key ones is the trends in mobility and video. We're seeing 90% of today's internet traffic today is triggered by video, YouTube and FaceTime and Netflix. 70% of all internet consumption is happening on mobile devices today. And again, we see this very rapidly increase. So if it's not mobile, if we don't think in any of our businesses about the mobile implications of how to interact differently with our workforce or our customers, you're going to miss the boat. And if it doesn't have a video strategy in it, again, we're going to miss the opportunity to interact with next generations that don't know any better and expect how to use video in ways that we probably haven't ever seen before. Second, and Luis mentioned it, it's about the applications. It's the apps. And this is being a company that sells routers and switches and phones and all the boring stuff. The conversation that's happening is about the application, and that's what we consume. More than 2,400 applications are being launched each and every day between iOS and Android platforms. A lot of games and a lot of garbage, but a lot of it gets built here to really change an experience and a service level that we've never seen before. And we gotta be prepared for this and participate in this change. And then Internet of Things. You see we have a different slide. It goes up. We say 50 billion, you say 30 billion. Let's split it in half. There's 40 billion smart devices going to be connected to the internet within the next 5 years. And think about all those devices that historically have been unconnected that now can make data available that we can analyze and add analytics to and create applications on and completely start to transform how our business works. Which leads to big data. And we've been talking about big data for a long time, but 40 billion devices and 6 billion people and processes running on this, we're going to see more and more big data become relevant and therefore need a lot of data centers and rethink how we consume all this data, and that's through the cloud. And we see massive uptake on not wanting to own or have the hardware anymore, but to start to think about new consumption models through the cloud. And this is old data, maybe have fresher data, but I think it's actually more than 40% now of spending of processing that happens in the cloud. Now, and Luis mentioned this, if we connect for better outcomes, if we apply IoT, we can get the benefits, and that's what the conversation needs to be about. New experiences, fueling innovation, connecting people across the world, come up with new ideas, improving efficiencies, and you see many of the numbers that Luis talked about, create new markets, or sit back and have someone else create a new market that comes after us, or take a proactive role here, unlocking the intelligence that now sits locked into these unconnected, siloed, proprietary devices, taking advantage of these intelligence through analytics, and then at the same time minimizing risk and treating security as a completely integrated value proposition. Because as you all have been gone on the IBM website and connect your phone, they now track every step. I already talked about our building. We're very proud of it, so I'm putting a slide in everywhere I can. We have over 1,400 light fixtures connected, HVAC controllers connected. If you ever get a chance, come visit us. And it's not about a Cisco building. This is an Oxford property. But this is how we're starting to see digitization, or the the digital age to have a massive impact on how we design, build our built environment. And then one of my focus areas on what this means to cities. Even now, Toronto is waking up to it, that we need to have one digital infrastructure, like we have one set of roads and one set of electrical infrastructure, on top of which we transform how governments work, how our cars will drive through the city, how our first responders communicate with one another. Today's the anniversary of this shooting in Ottawa. Back then, it's only a year ago, the biggest problem was RCMP, police, and ambulance couldn't talk to each other because they all work on different protocols and communication systems. And we live in a world where this should not be the case anymore. We should be much more responsive. If we think about one digital infrastructure, and we're spending millions and billions on our roads and potholes, why not start to think about the infrastructure as the next essential platform? Was it a 10 or a 5? That's 10. Yeah, counting. Okay, I'm almost done. So as Toronto is kind of warming up to this, we've been working a lot, as IBM has, and again, Barcelona, which is this, take real great advantage of building an ecosystem. So there are a lot of companies that arguably could be seen as competitors, like we had to sit with HP and Microsoft, which is the worst. We like IBM, by the way. But we're going to have to think differently and work differently together to solve real problems. Now, and I picked, you see, I picked Barcelona because it's in Spain. I thought that's right.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Gracias.
You're welcome. Yeah, that's all my Spanish. Anyways, they had the same realization. We're going to need one infrastructure, one set of wires effectively, on top of which we're going to innovate everything we do in our city. And they picked 3 use cases. They weren't trying to solve every problem in the world all at once. They picked some very specific examples where they could make money or save money, which then can be reinvested in ongoing development of new applications and new experiences. So they're doing a lot more than this now. But on smart water, by adding meters and sensors to the water system where they had a lot of leakage and mismanagement, they were able to actually optimize their processes and eliminate $58 million out of their annual operating budget for the city water system. Smart lighting, like every town in Canada almost, is looking at LED and intelligent street lights. Now, if they not just become LED, but they also become connected and intelligent, and we can have them talk to the cars that drive through the street, and they go up and down and dim depending on what's happening on the street. And that's exactly what Barcelona did, saving $37 million on electricity costs as they used this digital infrastructure to modernize the street lights. And then, as consumers, worst example, they make $50 million in 1 year of incremental parking revenues because they now have the ability to manage every parking spot on the street individually. They know when there's a car parked, they know when you park and you didn't pay, so they know when to come to your car and give you a ticket without walking around the neighborhood looking for cars. They also are able now to do demand pricing. If we have one spot left, crank up the price a little bit, not much different from your insurance example. So rethinking completely how to deliver services for real ROI, and that's real money that the city now is able to reinvest in economic development, stimulating startups, bringing new businesses to the city, and becoming a platform of innovation, if you will. Now, Luis talked about it. This is an architecture. We need the right plumbing. We call this the digital infrastructure, this platform for digitization. It has to have security and data and dealing with cloud and mobility. You build this once, you build it right, and then through applications and analytics, we can start to create all those additional services on it. But none of this matters without the people part. I know we talk often about technology, and if we connect everything, we solve every problem. But innovation happens everywhere. It's your staff, it's your employees, it's your customers, it's your family. There's lots of great ideas. And how do we nurture this change, this culture of change, this culture of innovation? How do we work together across all those different stakeholders to really take advantage of this digital age and this digital infrastructure? Because if we try to solve it alone, we probably won't get there, or we're going to slowly be eaten up by someone else that started a company from scratch, from their kitchen table, But only when we really bring this together, we believe we can be better together, and that's for where we need the partnerships and where we need the culture of coming up with new ideas, and this have to do this faster and faster and faster. We call that, another marketing term, the power of the human network, pun, right? Another network, but now with people. And without the people part, and without the process part, we can connect as many things as we want, but we're going to need to think about how do we connect the things, the people, the process, and the data to create opportunities, to digitize ourselves, to create new value for every stakeholder in play. There you go. Thank you.